How's everyone doing? Mask here, and I'm hanging out with Bandit Keith. This is my sorry friend who unfortunately had his, or is having his most iconic move modified, I want to say. I'm also here with one of my lead moderators, TutPup. Tut, you want to say hi?
Yeah, yo, what's up guys? TutPup here.
And we're going to go over the changes coming to the game. They're updating a lot of the skills. They're doing some, essentially, they're doing some PvP balance. I do apologize, guys. My voice is a little scratchy. I had, well, here in Toronto, it's some pretty intense sport times. I know if you guys know anything about hockey or even baseball. Actually, well, baseball is just an embarrassment. But we had a very involved weekend of screaming and celebrating. Anyhow, we're going to jump right into it. So basically we are doing some character skill balances to try to make PvP have more of a variety of skills. I really support these changes coming from Konami. It makes me excited. It shows that they're really invested in keeping PvP balanced, updating the game, trying to keep everything, trying to keep everyone involved. And let's just start going through the list here. So on May 23rd, we are going to see these skill changes implemented, and essentially, I want to start down here at what they're actually doing. So first of all, they're taking Joey Wheeler's skill Reinforcement, which currently can be used every time your life points drop by 1800, and in the draw phase, instead of doing a normal draw a random warrior type monster. Now this has seen absolutely no play. For right now, it's just outclassed by so many other things. You really don't, warriors aren't that strong either. You really don't have any reason to just take 1800 damage and then try to draw a warrior. The only skills we see used on Joey, of course, being Last Gamble or Luck on Your Side. But what they're changing it to is every time your life points decrease by 1800, essentially they're allowing you to do a switcheroo. But you are guaranteed a warrior type monster coming into that deck. Now this could actually see some play in my mind. Being able to switcheroo and guarantee yourself a playable monster or a monster period at any time is pretty awesome. What are your thoughts, Tut?
Yeah, I agree. I think this update is actually pretty nice. I think that maybe not right now in the current meta, but I certainly think once warriors get a little more support, I think that this skill could certainly see some play, because you know, before you would only draw a random warrior, and if your hand was dead, I mean, the draw would be dead anyway. But right now, you can replace the worst card in your hand for a random warrior, and you could make plays out of that. So I think once warriors becomes a little stronger in the meta as a whole, I think that this skill could certainly see some play, to be honest.
Awesome. Yeah, no, and that's really it. If the second warriors slip their way in, this skill is just gonna explode. Now, this is definitely the most, well, after that, I will also obviously read that this skill change was done because this skill basically saw no ranked duels play, most likely due to its lack of practical applicability. I mean, there was just no point in running the skill. And obviously they've changed the effect of it to encourage players to play as Joey and use his signature warrior type monsters. Now I know one person in particular who is going to be super amped about this change, and that is my roommate. He's been waiting to make a warrior deck. Good old Hood Rat. He's been waiting to make a warrior deck since day one. Man, my voice is so fried. I apologize. But anyhow, moving on to the most iconic change that has been talked about and is going to make the biggest impact on the current meta. We have Bandit Keith's current skill called Switcheroo. I mean, you guys have seen it. It has been currently used on 80% of decks right across the board. You return your worst card in your hand, or you return a specific card doing some combos, Thunder Dragon. And this skill can only be used once per turn, twice per duel, but you would switcheroo a card into your deck and draw a random card out. But they're basically putting an activation requirement on this skill. So you're no longer going to see your relinquished decks open up every single game, switcherooing a Thunder Dragon back in, drawing an extra card. You actually have to lose 1,000 life points in order to activate this effect. Now, it's the exact same effect. It's still going to do the switcheroo, but it can no longer snowball someone who's already just winning. You got 4K. You finally drew not the perfect card, and you get a chance to just try to search for it. No, now just like any other requirements, you're actually going to have to lose 1,000 life points to use this. And what are your thoughts on this, Tut?
Yeah, I think like the main reason for the switch like is because as you mentioned, like before the skill had no requirement. Like I feel like every skill so far has some sort of requirement or counterplay. Like for example, the field spells, you can just remove them with a twister or a D-spell, and like the draw senses, you had to lose life point in order to use them. Same with Destiny Draw and stuff like that.
Right.
And even Mind Scan, like once you lost a certain amount of LP, like
you lose it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think I think this nerf has been very needed for a long time, because as we've seen, like more and more decks are starting to gravitate more towards like the combo playstyle, for example with the Gravekeepers. So
right.
I think that this
Econ,
particular
Soul Exchange, Chief, like huge combos. In order to get those combos, the old switcheroo was just allowing you to punish your enemies, giving you that extra chance 2 times in a duel to grab a combo. I can't. And I mean, for me, when I really started to see that this was a problem was when we're building decks on stream, having fun. When we do our deck draft, we're one person from this, we get 20 people or 10 or 20 people together from the stream. Everyone picks a card, and I build the deck. And we're sitting there afterwards. We're looking at the deck, and it's like, well, what skill's going to be best for this deck? And it's like, the answer is just switcheroo. It was that overpowered.
The answer is always
it's
switcheroo.
like, well, if you want to try hard, it's switcheroo. It's like, at any
course.
time you have the opportunity to just throw in a dead card. Try to pull out a one you can play.
Yeah, and actually, like, the more I think about the nerf, I don't think it's going to hurt that many decks in such a bad way. I mean, obviously, Relinquished are getting nerfed pretty hard.
Now, why would you say they're getting nerfed quite hard?
Because running Thunder Dragons in a Relinquished deck is going to become more of a dead card, because you can't use the switcheroo right away. Because to
save the fact that you draw 2, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you can still use the Thunder Dragons in order to thin your deck, and I can still see people using that, because you can always use the Thunder Dragons for the ritual material. You can tribute summon it over a Relinquish to bring it back with the...
To bring it back with that card that's paid 100 life points, recover a ritual monster.
Yeah, I forgot the name and stuff like that. So I still think it's like Thunder Dragons.
Either it's on the tip of my tongue.
I still think
contract of duty, something.
Contract of rights, maybe. I don't.
Contract of rights. That's very close. Right of contract or something.
Yeah. So I still think that Thunder Dragons are going to see play in Relinquished decks, but I don't.
But maybe we see something else instead of Thunder Dragons that also thins. Although Thunder Dragon has that synergy, it is nice. And how often you don't draw too often, but it definitely makes it slightly less consistent, and you don't get that instant punish of allowing Relinquish to draw an X. I think that really punished people. If you drew Thunder Dragon, you could essentially, as Bandit Keith, draw an entire extra card on turn 1 just because of this skill. So all of a sudden, this skill in our Relinquish deck was giving you Teya's dual standby skill. 7 out of 10 games on turn 1, you got to get an extra card. Like, how fair is that?
And on top of that, your opponent didn't get an extra card, and you had a switcheroo like to follow up.
And you still have one more switcheroo to follow up, and you thinned your deck with the Thunder Dragons. Like, it was just, it was outperforming everything. Now, obviously, this skill is overwhelmingly common in ranked duels and has led to a lack of skill diversity in the metagame. In addition, being able to freely use switcheroo does not seem conducive to Bandit Keith's character. I like how they're throwing in some character here. And he only switched cards in dire situations. Therefore, we'll be adding a condition to the activation of the skill. And I like it. It's great.
Yeah.
Now let's move on.
I think the condition is pretty fair, to be honest, as well, because I mean, obviously some decks are going to get hit more than others, but I still think, like, for example, the obvious deck that comes to mind is the Venus deck. Switcheroo is pretty essential for its consistency.
Right, otherwise you're getting stuck with those balls in your hand, and it sucks.
But I mean, as long as you don't open up with 2 balls and you still open up with the Venus, it's pretty fine, to be honest, because you're still going to pay 1,000 life points in total.
And activate your own switcheroo. See, now I don't even think, that being said, it hardly even hits. You could open up Venus, 1 shine ball, pay your 1,000, and then shuffle that obviously it activates same turn, I'm assuming, right? Read this again real quick.
Or even if it doesn't, I mean, you can still switcheroo that shine ball
the next
following turn.
Correct.
Yeah,
so you're good. You're totally good.
Yeah, I still think the nerf doesn't really hit the decks as hard as we might have thought initially, but I still think it hits the decks like hard enough to where every deck won't be running switcheroo anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the other decks like clowns and like the ritual decks, like the blue eyes ritual decks and stuff like that, I still think that they can see use in other decks. For example, clowns might go back to MasKScarin, for example.
Right, really helping them out with board control and such.
Yeah, so I don't think that this nerf was too hard, or to be honest, it might not even be harsh enough. I guess time will tell.
1,000 is still quite the light price to pay. I will say that, in comparison to any other cost in the game.
Yeah.
But switcheroo isn't the most overwhelming thing to put a price tag of 1,000 life points on. But all right, let's move on to Shizu Ishtar's skill, Precognition. Now this one gets me excited because I really wanted to see this get play. If your opponent's life points are double or more than if your opponent's life points are double or more than double your own, you can look at the top. You can look at the card at the top of both players' decks at any time. Now this was interesting, although the requirement was just way too steep. It never, you never got this much of an imbalance. Now, I like how they've now changed it. You can view the top card of both players' decks until the end of the 5th turn. This is nuts. This is crazy. You get to know 2 to 3 cards that your opponent's drawing. I wonder if it even activates at the beginning of the duel before he draws his initial card. Can you see his entire opening hand? It's like the questions. We haven't seen it put in play yet.
I think the skills usually activate after.
After you draw your cards?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, they don't. Technically, they don't. Like, the screen happens before you draw your cards. Think about Weevil's Parasites. They get put in the deck first. Balance activates before we draw, but I don't think they'd let us see the opening hand. That would just be way too OP. But
yeah, that would be pretty...
Yeah, it's still going to be insane. Are we seeing the conscription meta popping out of nowhere here? Or like, are we... True. It's gonna be conscription in a Shizu, and it's like, and still information is so powerful at the same time. All of a sudden, you are knowing 2 to 3 draws your opponent's making in the beginning of the duel, when it is so crucial to gain control right away, get going, get out of the gate. A lot of games end before turn 5.
Yeah, I see this as like another version of MasKScarin almost.
Right.
Because like with MasKScarin, you'll know, because MasKScarin, like the idea behind MasKScarin is kind of the same. Like in the beginning of the duel, you will know what your opponent like places in their places face down, and you can play around that.
Right.
This is kind of the same, but I mean, in a way, like completely opposite as well. Like you most likely won't be able to see the opening hand, so you won't be able to see like the initial plays.
Right.
But at the same time, you will be able to assume and start predicting every play, like following up like the 5 following turns. So
and,
I think it's
I just want to see precognition conscription happen on something insane.
Yeah,
that would tell me so hard. But obviously, so reading the why it happened, we have this skill is powerful, yet was used very rarely due to its difficult activation condition. Therefore, we have altered the condition, making it easier to use. See, and I like it. This skill is so powerful, but I totally want to see people start playing it. But there is a lot of decks that were just completely leaning on switcheroo. For example, Shine Balls. Oh no, I think Shine Ball will still use switcheroo. But clowns, you could have a Shizu clowns on precognition now. You could have, there are so many decks that would just switcheroo just because that could now you perhaps use this.
Yeah, and I think that again, I think that's the main reason also why they are changing all of these abilities, because for the one that they nerfed, like switcheroo, it was like you said, you used it just because, like, what else am I supposed to use? And with these changes, like with precision and stuff, or precognition rather, you might, like, instead of going instead of seeing switcheroo and go like, oh, why not? What else am I supposed to use? You can instead see like a precognition and go, oh yeah, why not? Like this might work, or this might give me the edge, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like this is going to open up stronger rather than like some decks that just simply have no synergy coming from anywhere else. All right, so moving on from precognition, we have the last change they are making. It's Odeon's skill, Endless Trap Hell, and this one is a bunch. Oh, actually, no, that's just their outro. But it can be used each time 3 of your trap cards are sent to the graveyard. 1 random trap in your graveyard is added to your deck, and your deck is shuffled. Now, this was quite the underwhelming skill. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and read why they changed it. Odeon sees little use in the upper tiers of ranked duels. Therefore, we have changed the effect of his Endless Trap Hell skill to support trap card-oriented decks. Now, the updated skill is going to be usable when you have 3 trap cards. Whoa. When you have 3 trap cards in the graveyard, 1 random trap card in your graveyard is added to your hand, then shuffle 1 random trap card in your graveyard into your deck. Once per duel. Now that is still cool. Once per duel, still. You activate 2 traps, you're getting 1 right back into your hand. So if you are really prioritizing your first couple of trap activations to be very strong traps, you're not just cycling through Jar of Greeds. Even if you were cycling through Jar of Greeds, you're getting an extra Jar of Greed. That's another card. That's power.
Yeah, and I think like the like most important thing to note with this change is that before you just got a card back into your deck, like whatever.
Right, which
now,
is some
like the thing about this skill right now, or after the update, is that you get an extra draw essentially, because like you go +1 that turn, which could be really strong in certain decks, especially trap-oriented decks, as they've said, because it doesn't say instead of your draw or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're adding 1 to your hand and to your deck, actually.
And to your deck. So realistically, they've just made this skill do more. They haven't taken anything away from it. Yeah. It's definitely just a buff.
Yeah, and I think as well, this skill is a skill that could be used not only in trap-oriented decks, but really any deck that doesn't really have a dedicated skill, like a Power of Dark or Dinosaur Kingdom. Right.
Any deck that runs a few strong traps, like realistically, if you run 3 mirror, like 2 or 3 mirror walls, a Windstorm, and a couple other good traps, boom, Endless Trap Hell. Now the original Endless Trap Hell it could be used an infinite number of times though, but it counted the cards being sent to your graveyard, correct?
Yeah, I think something like that.
But still, just not practical. It's like reverse. Realistically, like people say, deck thinning is deck winning. One of my favorite sayings. And the old skill simply undid that. It's not helping you. It's not getting a card in your hand. It's just saying, okay, your deck's fatter now. Have fun drawing what you need. But
and I think, like, just the fact that you're going +1, because again, that was like one of the main reasons why Thunder Dragon Switcheroo was so strong, because you went +1. Like getting that extra draw is always so strong. So the fact that you can do that with this skill, granted it's only with trap cards, but then again, being able to play 2 Windstorms in 1 duel could be really big sometimes. So I think this one could actually see a lot of play in decks that aren't necessarily trap cards oriented. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
So you can see quite the diversity of decks coming up into this. Well, and we strive to create a well-balanced and fun experience for all duelists, and will periodically change skills and forbidden and limit lists. Oh, I didn't even catch that. Here we go. No, they are throwing right in our face forbidden and limited lists to create a better dueling environment. That is on the front of their mind. They are on those forbidden and limited lists. Stay tuned. That's what that's saying. Incoming. You know what? You know what they have to do? I mean, they have to do this. So, incoming Pegasus event. We are getting our 3rd relinquished and relinquished summoning thing everywhere. Everyone's getting it. It's gonna rain 3rd relinquished. They pretty much have to limit relinquished to at least 2 in a deck for now. For the love of everything, do not let people run triple relinquished, triple Sonic Bird, triple Senju decks. I will cry. 12 cards in your deck, 6 and 6 that could draw relinquished out. Holy smokes, that would just be too insane. I think we're gonna see forbidden and limited lists hitting the store very soon. Very soon.
And especially with people not being able to run switcheroos, or not wanting to run switcheroo, rather, you can just add that extra relinquish and extra.
And then boom, you're just drawing him on turn 1 or 2 anyway. So if
Yeah.
you're running triple relinquished, that's 3, 6, 9, 12 cards with Sonics and Senjus. You're running 3 Thunder Dragons, that's 15. 2 IMTs, that's 17. You could run your Bring Them Back from the Dead card, that's 18. And what's your last 2 supports for your top tier relinquished deck now? I don't know. Tech it in. It's whatever you think the meta needs. Ladybug.
Yeah, Master of Rights or whatever.
Yeah,
probably.
like.
Or right of contract maybe.
Oh, right. Yeah, rate of contract, and that's it. Like, I think they're gonna have to at least limit relinquish back down to 2 when this Pegasus event pops. But anyhow, that's pretty much it, guys. I know when I first started playing the game, I always forgot to check my news. That's why I'm gonna start. I'm pretty much always gonna do these. This is what's happening in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the news, and so you can catch it here instead of having to catch it in game and kind of get our thoughts on it as well. Now, I am super pumped about the Pegasus event that's coming on the 19th. I'm honestly dedicating the 19th, the 20th, the 21st to Welcome to Toon World. I plan on hitting 8 million, and I'm saying it now. My goal is to hit 8 million points on the first day of Pegasus launch. I'm gonna grind it so hard you don't even know. And of course, we are going to be posting how to farm Pegasus guide at both level 30, level 40, and knock on wood, maybe level 50 if they get really fancy with it. But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to figuring out what his cards are. Tut here and everyone else from my stream, we're going to have a patch launching party. The second the patch goes live on the, is it the 19th? The morning of the 19th, so the night of the 18th.
Yeah, morning of the 19th.
Tomorrow night, we're going to be, basically tomorrow night / morning in our Eastern time talk. I know lots of you guys are from everywhere, but we're having a patch launching party. We're going to be here, we're going to be in the channel's Discord, and if you can't find the Discord link, guys, it's going to be in the description or on our Twitch page. You can always type in !Discord, and a bot will throw it your way. But thanks for checking this out. Thanks a lot for hanging out with us, Tut.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
And yeah, guys, check us out on Facebook or Twitter. That's how you're going to know when we're going live. Of course, the live stream is twitch.tv/MasKScarin. Smash that subscribe button and stay classy.